Welcome to Forged in the Fires podcast with Fireman Rob. Being a fireman, father, veteran, husband, world record holder, and Ironman, he brings stories of experience to impact your life while challenging you to live it. What do you want from your life? Why do you want it? Are you willing to go through the challenges to get there? If you have the courage to take that first step, let this podcast be the catalyst to start your fire while you bring the resilience to make it continue to burn. Our lives are made up of moments called right nows. So let's get started. Forged in the Fires podcast with your host, Fireman Rob, begins now.
We got the same blood, the same love. Stay by your side, it's ride or die. We've got the same blood.
All right, welcome back to the Forged in the Fires podcast. I am your host, Rob Verhelst, otherwise known as Fireman Rob. I have a great guest on today who I had the pleasure of being at Kona with in 2012 and continue to be a friend with even today because she is an inspiration. She's a triathlete, a motivational speaker, a fundraiser, and somebody who you need to know more about. BethAnn Telford, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great, Rob. It is a pleasure to be with you. It seems like I follow you and all the others that were on our great expedition to Kona in 2012 via, virtual outlets. So it's great to talk to you. I know that we have over several times, but what a pleasure it was meeting you back there, 8 years ago. So I'm happy to do this with you.
It's crazy to think it's that long ago, but it was, and you continued to challenge life. And we're going to get into your story. But one of the things I always love, and I always watch that Kona video, and I see you carrying that flag with hope on it. Tell me more about what that word means to you, hope.
Well, when I was diagnosed back in 2005, I was very, dedicated to my job, 24/7. I worked for the government. I still work for the federal government. And I was one of the ones when I was young, I wanted to just go hell's bells like I do with athletic endeavors. And I was, going into the office at 6 and not coming home till 10 or 11. I worked for a cabinet member at the time. And I really never thought about charities or someone that was sick. I was healthy. My family was healthy. My friends were healthy and active. And then when I was diagnosed in 2005, it was like this wall was in front of me and I was desperate and I was looking for people and inspiration and a word that would carry me through this long journey that I've been dealing with for over 15 years. And, you have all these different people giving you thoughts and everything. And my father started this whole thing with hope that when I had my surgery, he said, there's hope for this. We can get through this. And it stuck to the point where I had it tattooed on my left wrist in the inside of it so that when I was running or doing events or even at work, I could look down and know that the word hope to me is that there's a future and there's things that lie ahead. There might be hurdles, but you're going to get through them and it's just going to be not back to normal, but it's going to be okay. So that's why my word hope sticks with me. And it probably started, with my father. And he's my biggest hero and the person that has made me who I am today.
I love it. I love it. So you talk about your diagnosis, and I want to go back to that. In 2004, you were running the Marine Corps Marathon, and you said you felt a popping sensation in your head, like mile 19. So you were an active person before this. And what happened after that?
Yeah, I played field hockey in high school and then got a scholarship for college. But for field hockey, you only had to run a mile to get qualify for the team. And of course I made that, but I never did distance running. And when I moved down here after 9/11 into DC, you're out on the river and the Potomac and all the monuments. And it was continuous people running or walking, biking, physically exercising and getting out. And I was like, wow, I got to, join a running group. So I did. And I joined a group that was for the Foundation of AIDS at that time. and we were training for the Marine Corps Marathon. And that's how it all started. I started doing distance running down here in DC. And, I trained. I did several Marine Corps marathons prior to this one in 2004. But at that time, mile 19 was on Haines Point. And Haines Point is the little island that sticks out in the Potomac that is the barrier for DC to Virginia, or Old Town Alexandria, Roslyn area. And again, at that time was mile 19. And I felt a pop, almost like I was going in an airplane. And you know how you have to clear your ears, or you're going up a mountain and it gets foggy. And I did. But then my running gait was off, and I was swerving left and right and all over. And in fact, I was hitting people, and someone, almost like I was drunk. Well, right. I composed myself, and I finished, I got to mile 26.2. So it was a 7 more mile trek, but I considerably slowed down. My vision was messed up, and I got across the finish line and immediately went to the medical tent, and something was wrong. And I thought it was dehydration. It was a hot day. It was one of the hottest days that Marine Corps Marathon had. But that's where my story all started. And when I felt that pop in my head, Rob, back at mile 19, I looked up, and to this day, 15 years later, and all these Marine Corps marathons later, every time I stop there, my friends stop there, there is a sign there about me that people put up during the race. And it's like this little, shrine of like, this is not going to get me. I'm coming back, and I'm going to get you. So right now it's mile 13 on Marine Corps Marathon. The course has changed over the years, but has a lot of it. That marathon is my VIP marathon. I love it.
I love it. And you've made your name there. And, after that happened, you went in. You had that normal lifestyle like you were talking about, and you went in and you found out that you had a brain tumor.
Correct. So what had happened is, like I said, I thought I was dehydrated. I went to the medical tent at Marine Corps and, tried to get some life back in me with the solution, saline solution. And I went to work the next day. Marine Corps Marathon is always the last Sunday in October. And I was used to going to work the next day after doing several marathons. And I went into work. And again, like I told you, I work for a high-level federal employee, and I was his assistant. So I kept his calendar. I, did personal things for him to make sure he was on time, lunch dates, meetings, etc., and hooking him up with other people according to his schedule. Well, that Monday through Wednesday, I was a mess, and literally like I had just started the job. And on top of that, my left eye was having trouble with sight, and it was straying So I was running into furniture that had been there for 30, 40 years, this old furniture, missing, telephone calls for him. Meetings were wrong. I got on the metro to go home instead of going to Northern Virginia. I ended up in the other side of Maryland. Things were just not right. So by that Wednesday, my boss had pulled me into his office, and he says, there's something wrong with you. Are you drinking? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no. And I told him earlier about what happened at Marine Corps. And so I went into the hospital. He had directed me to go get a physical. So I went to GW there. And at that time, I was still being seen by my doctor back home from Pennsylvania, and I was being seen by my doctor at Hershey Medical. But because of the urgency, I was sent to GW, went there. They diagnosed me with an inner ear infection. And
really?
Yeah. So they collaborated with my doctor, Dr. Thomas Wida, who now is the sports doctor at the University of Alabama. He said, that's not right. Something, he's been seeing me since I was a toddler. He said, something is not right. I am putting in a prescription for an MRI there. So I went and got an MRI right away, and the results came in. I had a major left frontal lobe brain tumor. And that's when my life changed.
I can imagine. At that point, you had all these things that were ahead of you that you thought of, and then now it's a different direction. One of my favorite stories, when you started to begin to learn how to walk again at the hospital, you made a circuit to be able to try to beat your friends and family. And tell me more about this.
Well, as I said earlier, my father is my biggest coach and hero. And when I say coach, he doesn't know anything about triathlons. In fact, when I went to go buy my bike, he was like, where's the kickstand? How much, you're paying how much for a tire? But when I say that, coach, just life skills. And he always pushed me past my boundaries. And in the hospital, when they weren't even sure what was going to happen after surgery, of course, I lost the sight in my left eye and I lost the ability to have children. And when you say there was things ahead of me, yeah, I wanted to have children so bad. And I was afraid to swing my legs over the side of the bed to start to walk because I wasn't sure with my sight, my balance, because that's a huge issue. So my father said to me, I am going to try to race you around the emergency ward. And I take that back, not emergency, it was the intensive care. So he made a path and we did it. And of course, he just pushed me every limit there was. And people would, cheer us on. I had my friends that came in that were athletes and they would take me on these, almost like therapy, lap, run, walks type things to see if I could get myself going. That was my first time learning to walk again.
That's crazy. And then the best part is that I know you well, but anybody who's listening today just has a slight glimpse into what you started to do after that, because you didn't just stop at racing people around the hospital ward. Once you got done, was it a month after your surgery that you entered your first 5K? Brain surgery, right?
Yeah. So I had surgery back in April of 2005, and I stayed in the hospital for some time. And then instead of coming back to DC, I went home to Pennsylvania so I could be looked after by my parents and my sisters. And it's quieter there. I could, it's the country. And there was a 5K in our hometown. So my sisters said, let's do it, the whole family. And my dad says, well, I'll just go to the halfway mark. So my sisters, I have two older sisters, and my mother and I were at the start line, and family friends were there and the community that knew me. And it was great. And it was in, the area by my home. And my mother and sisters said to me, now, you will not run. You will walk this. So I was like, yeah, sure. And
that was going to happen.
The gun went off and all the good runners went, and I was feeling down for myself. And I got to the halfway mark. Now you have to remember, I have my, no hair. I've got, my head's wrapped. I got a patch on my eye, and halfway mark, I hear my dad, and I knew it right away. I couldn't see him, but his voice. And it's like, get going, Beth. Pick it up. Come on. And it took me back to the days of field hockey when parents could scream, yell, swear, whatever on the sidelines. My dad even had a blowhorn. And that moment that I heard my dad, that is the moment I knew I was going to be okay. I picked up my pace. I left my sisters and mom, ran towards the voice of my father, and I finished that 5K, not walking, running. And when I say running, it's not the pace that I was used to, but I had one foot in front of the other, and I was doing the best I could. It was very slow, but it was because of my father.
Because the pace of progress towards something better.
Exactly. That's a great way to say that. Yes.
So now, when you look at the situation that you went through, because I think a lot of the people that listen to this podcast want to find out the inner workings of how did you mentally get from point A of being diagnosed to point B of going, I'm going to get my life back to what I want it to be. What would you say like 3 tips would be for those people?
Surround yourself with great friends and family. My whole thing is I don't like to be around negative people. Oh, you're sick, you should stay at home. And I heard that when I went to Ironman, like that's the worst thing you could do. You're going to kill yourself. So number 1 is family and friends. Number 2 is I have a great team of doctors to the point where I have personal emails, numbers that, of course, I don't just call them up and say, hey, I stubbed my toe. For reasons I have their numbers, and just because I have such a great rapport with them. And lastly, you have to believe in yourself. if you can't believe in yourself, you're not going to get far in life or get over those obstacles that you have. And I believe those three things are what truly have gotten me to the point where I am today, as far as, these incredible things I've been able to do, the job I've been able to keep, and the great people that I go out and train with or just have conversations with.
You didn't just go 5Ks and stuff like that, and then just you weren't content with just doing that, because how many Boston marathons have you finished?
I have finished, qualified, let's put that way there, and finished, because someone might think I did it for charity, which is great, but I qualified.
Oh, please, you could do it whenever you want. That is fine with me.
Yeah,
if they complain, just send them to me.
I qualified and finished six marathons. It would have been 7, and thank God it wasn't, because I missed the year of the bombing. In fact, my name, I was in, my bib was there. My friend picked up my bib. They thought I was at the starting line. And of course, the bombing happened. And it would have been at the timing that I would have probably come to the finish line. It was just crazy. But I had been in the hospital for emergency bladder replacement. So would I have rather been at the bombing or have the bladder surgery? Definitely the bladder surgery. So, yeah.
I don't think either are really that good.
Yeah, no, that was not good.
Now, not just that many Boston marathons. How many consecutive Marine Corps marathons have you done?
I have done 15 consecutive, yes. I didn't.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. So 15, and that's my favorite. I love the men and women who serve our country. I love being able to run through DC with all the great, monuments to many people. And it just, it's no prize money there. And it's just a great race. And I love the race director.
I love it. I'm going to have to join you one of these years here.
Yes.
I would love to do that. So now I want to go to 2012. Mm-hmm. We were part of the same thing of Kona Inspired. I love it because on the NBC coverage, you're right before I'm on there. And it always makes me smile every time I see you flash that tattoo on your arm or on your wrist of hope. Tell me what that day meant, not just for you, because you had somebody waiting at the finish line for you that really, you created an impact. And I want to read a quote here before I let you tell me that. But you said, "I fight for those who are unable, especially for children suffering from cancer, is a very significant lack of funding for pediatric cancer." Tell me what that day meant to you and what it meant to the individuals that you help.
It was huge. It had to be, by far, at that point, the biggest thing in my life that I had accomplished. And I was very lucky to have my parents there, have my partner there, meet the wonderful people that were in Kona Inspired. That's where you and I forged a wonderful relationship. Todd was there, and we had a great group of people from the foundation, from other foundations. I met your girlfriend at that time, who's now your wife. And I had the opportunity to have someone fly over a pediatric brain tumor warrior of mine who I call my bestie, and her mother. It was huge. I had met this little girl through my father, who was reading the newspaper back home, and on the front page, this little girl was featured. She was featured because of her brain cancer, and her classmates at Bible Baptist School were making hats for her because she had lost her hair, and she was, very conscious of it. My dad says, "You have to meet this girl." So, of course, the next time I was home, I met her. Her name is Anya. Again, I call her my bestie, and we just formed a great relationship. I love every part of her. She's grown into a teenager now. It's hard to believe. She's had 9 surgeries since I met her for her brain tumor. And each time she comes out even more thankful to anyone that she meets or helps. And she is going to be the new mini me. She might not be athletic, but she's taking over a lot of my speaking gigs. And we do a lot of speaking gigs together. But to have her, and she was young at the time, much younger, to have her at the finish line, I knew the whole time out there that what I was doing was for so many kids. And when you read about that, the pediatric funding for an adult is like 42%. And Rob, what do you think it is for a child for pediatric cancer in general?
Oh, I can only imagine it's half or even less than that.
7%. And when I
That's
heard
crazy.
that, it's ridiculous. So when I heard that from my doctor, Dr. Henry Brem, and the fact, if you go back in when I told you I wasn't able to have kids, I've adopted all these kids. I just thought,
Right.
no, I have lived my life. I have been to the prom. I've driven a car. I've gotten speeding tickets. I've been grounded several times. I, went to school, furthered my career in the federal government serving our country. These kids might not get to do that. I just
Right.
felt that was going to be my platform. So the whole time being out there in Kona, and in fact, that piece where you see me talking, there was a part where the guys followed me, and they did that with you on the motorcycle. And they're like, well, what do you think? I said, well, I want to go back. I have enough time. I want to run another 10 miles. And they're like, oh, we're done. We are done with you. So as I came around that corner, and that feeling, you come around the corner to go up, in front of the crowds. It's just like I was carrying so much weight on me. It just all like lifted off. And I felt like everyone ran in front of me and it was their finish. And when I came across the finish line, I went right to her. She was right there with her mom. And I unfortunately swore. Jesus Christ, that was the hardest goddamn thing I did. And then I covered my mouth and I was thinking, this girl is a little religious girl, and here I am saying this. But I was just so excited. And to see her smile and wait for me all those hours, and she had taken naps, and later on I had seen like all these pictures of her in the hotel floor room, waiting for me. It was just overwhelming because I felt like I raised some good money. And it was all so worth it. I want to do it again and again and again.
That's amazing. And you didn't even stop there, because I think this is one of the things that I love about you is that you don't stop when, there's no finish line for you. It's just keep going. And you've raised over $1 million for research supported by the Accelerated Brain Cancer Cure. And you have a team that people can go to, www.teambt.org. People can go there and find out more information. Tell me more about that 7-day. Now, this is crazy, and I've thought of doing it, but I don't know if I'm as crazy as you are. But in 2017, you did the World Marathon Challenge, which is 7 continents, 7 marathons in 7 days.
Yeah, but let's get something straight. It's 7 consecutive days. And this is where I fooled my brain surgeon. So when I had to go get the clearance because Accelerate Brain Cancer Cure wanted to make sure I was medically able to do this, which is understandably, I just said 7 marathons, 7 continents, 7 days. And Dr. Brown was like, okay, let me think about this. And I never put consecutive in there. And so he, so you do one a month. Or one every 2 months, whatever. But I didn't say anything. But I let him form his own opinion. But it is 7 consecutive days. And this was brought to me again by one of my lovely friends who thought I should go out for this. And, I thought, oh my God, this is awesome. It's a great platform. And Rob, I really hope you do it. I really do. And it would be so good. Take Todd and film the whole thing. I thought instill the feeling that I got when I passed over Kona, you can't express that enough. I thought that was it for me. I knew I would do other things, but nothing is epic. And then this came up and I was blown out of the water. And were there days that I thought I couldn't do it? No. In fact, I trained for a year. I felt great. And I knew this platform would be a great way for me to raise money and awareness for pediatric brain cancer. So what it is, it's again, 7 marathons on 7 continents in 7 days. You start out in Antarctica. And of course, you run a full marathon. There's a special plane that takes you there that can land on the ice. It's a Russian plane. The whole thing is starting there is due to the fact of the weather. And only my luck, when we started running, a snowstorm came in, but we finished it. And immediately, we were packed before we started the race of the 26.2. So when we finished, some people that were faster, like my good friend Michael Wardian, were able to shower, but us others that were stuck in the snowstorm and I was running through snow up to my knees were a little bit slower, and we got caught in that. But as soon as everyone was finished, we jumped back onto the plane and we went back to Chile where it all started, where we all met up. And from Chile onward, we had our own private jet, which was nice because you had your own designated area. And I was lucky enough to have someone come along with me to do my media. They had given this person kind of like a reduced rate to get in with me, and they captured everything, filmed it, and she administered all my medicine because I'm on medicines for the health issues. And we get back to Chile and we get off this Russian plane and we unload our gear and we immediately run another 26.2 in Chile. Then when you're done, you only have so many hours to either get yourself ready and you get back on the plane. And that's when we flew to Miami, where I had a huge crowd. My parents were there. My friends were there and they ran with me. That was my, that was it. I was just so happy to see my parents. I needed a little pep talk. It's not that I wasn't going to finish. I just was missing people. Other than the lady that went with me, I had known her. Her niece has a brain tumor. So it was all part of that she had come along, and she's in marketing. So after Miami, I finished and my dad said to me, "Can we get dinner?" And the race director looks at my dad and said, "Hey, she's got to get into the van. We got to get back to the airport. We're headed to Spain." My dad's like, wait a minute. So my dad was like, he's like, I gave him a kiss and I left. So we were off. We went to Spain. That was my fastest marathon. I like hills, and it was a lot of up and down hills. And the scenery, which we were in a park, it reminded me of home so much. So from Chile then, of course, we finished 26.2 and we went on to Marrakesh. And then that was a very interesting one. We got there and women aren't allowed to run there. We respected them and didn't wear short sleeves, and it was hot. The women kept, I kept long pants on. But a lady came up from the area, and the only thing that we had in common was she had running shoes on. She had the full garb over her head, and she ran with me. She wanted to run with the American woman. I was the only American woman. And I was the second American woman to do this event, the first ever with cancer, male, female. So it was great. I have some great pictures of running past camels, and just that was a touching moment when she ran with me and I got to ask her some questions. So then, of course, we got showered, we got some food and got back on the plane. We did a lot of eating on the plane. I didn't sleep much on the plane or anywhere else because my adrenaline was flowing. So that was number 4. So 5 was, where am I? Dubai, I guess. Yeah, I guess it's Dubai. That's number 6. So Dubai was by far the hardest. Antarctica was hard, but Dubai, because it was 112 degrees, and my tumor doesn't like that. And I was so hot, and my head was thumping. We all worked together. Every participant, we had great people on the whole 22 of us. Only 20 of us ended up finishing, but we assisted each other by giving each other ice bags, rags. That was hard for all of us. But I finished that. And then we had a long flight for the final destination, which was Australia. And we went into Sydney and it was nighttime. So we would run through the night, but we got there around 10 and we started running around midnight by the time we got from the airport to the destination. And from the flight from Dubai to Sydney, Australia, race director Richard talked to all of us and said that there was a past participant who wanted to donate $5,000 to a man and $5,000 to a woman, who all of us that participated deemed the most sportsmanship of the adventure. And we had to vote on each other and then give it to the race confidentially. And at the end of the Australia race, he would let us know. So we all did that. And of course, I'm running in Australia and it's midnight. So we had headlamps and we're running along the beach. It was beautiful. And at that race site, there was a gentleman there who had come and he had waited for me. We were supposed to be there at 9 and he waited till midnight when I got there. And I didn't know much about him, but he came up to me and he says, "You see that structure up there on the hill?" And it was like a cliff that overlooked the ocean that we were down on running by, and he says, my son just died there a few months ago from a brain tumor, and I heard about you, and I'm out here to support you. Well, oh my God, if that didn't motivate me to run, I finished that race and I just wanted to keep running and run 2-3 more marathons because my heart just felt for this guy. And New Balance had donated 14 pairs of shoes for me. Now, remember, 7 countries. So every half marathon, 13.1, I switched out my New Balance shoes. But what we did before we left is we reached out to anyone with pediatric cancer, especially brain, to design their sneaker. And then we had it painted on the one sneaker, and on the other sneaker was the country that child would be running with me in. So when I got to Australia, I looked down at my feet, and at the finish line, I had the shoe that this pediatric kid had done on one side. This was my final pair. And on the other side, the flag of Australia. So I took off the left foot that had the flag of Australia and I gave it to him. And lo and behold, it actually fit him. I'm a size 8 woman, so he had a very small foot. He was just blown away and very happy. And when I came across that finish line, again, I wanted to keep going, but Richard had said that I was voted by my peers for the $5,000 for the woman with the best sportsmanship on that race.
That's not surprising.
Thanks, Rob. Well, I had some competition, I'll tell you. All the ladies, there was a blind lady from Ireland. She's awesome. She has done some incredible things. A lady from Italy that I just admired, but all great, mostly there was a lot of Asian people, but mostly there's Germans. There was triathletes on this. So it was great. It's select. So that's why there was only me. And then, of course, Ryan Hall, who's very famous. And I got to forge a great relationship with him. And Ryan Hall is known for his world record marathon time. And he's an Olympic runner. And I beat him in Australia.
That's amazing. You keep hold of that one.
I actually use that once in a while. When he posts something funny, I'll say, and remember who beat you in Australia.
I love it. I love it. Well, BethAnn, you are a motivational person, inspirational person. I'm going to end this one with how we always end it. We have 3 questions that we ask people, and then we have a rapid round questions. So
sure.
Are you ready?
Okay.
There's no right or wrong answer. All right. So first one is, what is one thing that you haven't done, but is outside of your comfort zone?
One thing that I haven't done is outside my comfort zone. Oh, God. That is a tough one because I have no fear.
Your comfort zone is not big.
Yeah.
It's large.
I think that it would be, what would that be? Let me come back to that one.
All right. We'll come back to that one. This next one, what's your favorite quote and why?
Oh, sure. Is one my father instilled in me, and it is never, never, never give up by Winston Churchill. And you never give up, and you never give up hope. And that is why.
I love it. This last one, you can't pass on this one. If you could pick to have coffee with 3 other people at a firehouse coffee table, in other words, nothing is off the table. You can talk about anything and everything. Who would it be and why? And they can be deceased or alive.
Probably Andre Bocelli.
Oh, wow.
Because he's amazing. I enjoy his music, although I don't listen to it while running. But he's just amazing with his adversity and overcoming a lot of different issues. And this is another person I have to say who's up there is Tatiana McFadden. She is a real famous wheelchair athlete, and I find her just incredibly. She was adopted out of a Russian orphanage. She's got a great story. So I think those two, they're very different perspectives, but Tatiana is just incredible. I have the opportunity to meet her, but not really sit and discuss her adversity either.
This would be that opportunity.
Yeah.
Who else do you think?
Probably, and I don't want to get political, but Ronald Reagan.
Oh, that's fine. This is your table to do.
Yeah, I don't want to get political, but something about him I like. He just went from one extreme of being an actor to running our country. And, why? Why would you, it's such a difficult job and you can never do it right. It's like a weather forecaster. Just his whole, the way he went out of this world was very sad. I'm seeing that with my father right now. And I would like, go back in time and ask him questions of like how he thought he was going to go out of this world. Definitely not the way he did. So yeah.
I love those three. Those are some good picks right there.
Yeah.
And now we have to go back to question one here. What is the one thing you haven't done but is outside your comfort zone?
I think the backpacking through Spain, I know it sounds very easy, but through that, what is that long trail that the monks take? I'm not coming
I don't even know
across it, but it is a very long, it goes through Italy, Spain, Montepicchio, I think it's called. And I just would not, if I had to do that alone, I think I would freak out because, I do not like to be alone. That's my biggest problem. And it's been ever since I had the surgery. And I think it's the fear of having a seizure because I do seizure and not anyone finding me. So that would be out of my comfort zone, is like doing an event where it's one person and it's you in the wild. Not that I wouldn't do well because I ran across the Grand Canyons, but I had 5 people with me and supporting me. So that would be it.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
All right. You've reached the rapid round questions. These are just, I'm going to give you 2 options. You choose one of them. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Ready?
Yep.
Paper or plastic?
Plastic.
Soup or salad?
Salad.
McDonald's or Taco Bell?
McDonald's. I love their fries.
Camping or hotel?
Camping.
Fly or drive?
Driving.
Sleep in late or wake up early?
Oh, I'm definitely early person, 4 a.m.
Oh, that's way too early for me.
Yep.
Run or walk?
Run.
I figured that one. Partly sunny or partly cloudy?
Either, because they're both great days.
I love that answer.
Yep.
Fire or water?
Water.
Use a porta potty or continue to run to the next physical bathroom?
Porta potty or the nature. Come on, we're triathletes.
Coke or Pepsi?
Oh, Coca-Cola.
All right. Go big or go home.
Go big.
BethAnn, it has been such a pleasure to talk with you today. You are such an inspiration. Anybody that wants to find out more can go to teambt.org to find out more about the next adventures and the way that you can support BethAnn. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, you're very welcome. What a great way to talk with you and get this out to everyone. It's been a pleasure, Rob.
Well, thank you so much. Well, thank you for joining us, and we will talk to you next week.
It's been a pleasure, Rob.
Thanks for listening and supporting the Forged in the Fires podcast with Fireman Rob. Remember, don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast, and please share this episode with a friend or family. To find out more about Fireman Rob or reach out about a question, go to www.firemanrob.com. Until next time, live your life forged in the fires.